Hey everybody, welcome back to Fistful of Cards. Best friend LPF here, and today we're going to be talking about more Doomtown Reloaded. And we've got another Doomtown Reloaded deck tech for you. This time, the deck is called God's Got a Beef, and it is a 108 Gracious Gifts deck, and is also a Blessed deck. It's got some fun tech cards, so I hope you enjoy it. So going through the list as usual, first of all, who is this for and what is our goal? So our goal is to generate a huge amount of control points through looping Sentinel to get our opponent to lure our unsuspecting opponent into town square to fight us. And then we are going to play We Got a Beef in order to pull in their high influence dudes and then kill them by having a huge amount of extremely powerful anti-cheating opportunities, as well as dictating a lot of combat through some pretty powerful shootout effects as well. So let's get to it. So first off, I just wanted to talk a little bit about kind of our win condition package. Oh, I didn't talk about who this is for. My goodness, this is for people who want to play Blessed and Outlaws, but neither of those, or I guess like people who want to play like Outlaws out of Blessed and not in Outlaws. Good talk. Um, but in all serious, it's a opportunity for people to kind of maximize on. We just did our point blank episode, and I wanted to create a couple of lists that focused on the shootout aspect of the game, while also focusing on sort of what we were talking about in that video. If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, it's basically 20 minutes of me rambling about how to create win conditions in Doomtown. But this is an example of that. This is creating win conditions by proactively generating control points and also having follow through with structure, with shootout actions in order to create a winning scenario, hopefully. And so that was kind of the idea, and let's break it down. So we're running 108 Gracious Gifts. I'm not a huge fan of this home, but it kind of is, of our options, this is kind of the home that does the most for us. It's 19-3, means it's good. That's just what that means. And that's 19 starting wealth and 3 production. While you have less Ghost Rock than each other player, you may discard an extra card at sundown. It's fine. We'll be spending a lot of money, but I also start with a lot of money, as you'll see. And so it's an okay ability. Noon, pay 2, Ghost Rock, boot, unboot your dude. Might win you the game, might do nothing all game. Don't know. Like I said, basically this home reads, start with 19 money and make 3 money a turn. We start with 7 wealth, 2 income, and 4 influence. We've got Jake influence, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but look at all that money. Isn't that a thing of beauty? All right. So here's the namesake of the deck. God's got a beef, right? So we've got God because blessed, and beef because we've got a beef. We're running Sentinel and Retribution. So not a huge amount of blessings in our deck. The reason for this is Sentinel is part of our win condition, right? Sentinel, you can discard Sentinel at the end of the turn after victory is checked to get a control point, right? So that's an important thing. So it's like the Sloan core home, which means you get that point after victory is determined, which means that you can't win with the Sentinel poker chip on the turn that you get it, which is an important thing. But also, this card is crazy. You get +1 bullets, +1 blessed skill, and become a stud. This is very, very powerful stuff. Even before you get the control point, it does crazy amounts of stuff and gives you a lot of opportunity for strength. And so, very powerful card. It's basically like 1 Ghost Rock gets you a bullet, a blessed skill rating. You turn into a stud and a control point. So that's super powerful. So we're gonna focus on this. This card is way more powerful out of Law Dogs, primarily because Father Telerio can just loop it out of your discard pile every single turn. But even still, just as a way of proactively engaging with our opponents, this card is pretty cool because a lot of A lot of archetypes just don't have access to this kind of thing. So this is a really cool card, and we're backing it up with Retribution. Haven't seen a whole lot of Retribution, and I wanted to put cards in this deck that I don't see a whole lot of. Retribution is bananas. Like, this card is crazy OP. Not OP. I say OP a lot. It's very good. For 1 cost, shoot up Miracle X boot. Choose an opposing dude, X that dude's value. If the dude's controller reveals a cheating hand this round and you reveal a legal hand, ace that dude. This acing effect cannot be prevented. So this is really, really good for a lot of reasons. One, it's an anti-cheating card that is not a cheating resolution, which is very good. Those cards tend to be extremely powerful, and they tend to warrant a special place in my heart. I love the concept behind them, and in this case, it just kills a guy. It's basically like pinned down as a cheating card, but without actually being a cheating card, and that's really, really powerful because a lot of times the powerful thing about onboard cheating cards, I see a lot of comments on like the Discord and stuff, and people are like, why play cheating cards on like goods and stuff? The power is what it does to people mentally. The power is like people. This card might never actually fire, but if your opponent never cheats, then you don't really have to worry about them pulling like crazy hands on you, and that can be very powerful within itself. So Retribution, very cool card. Don't see it very often, and I think we're going to get a lot of momentum out of it for a couple of reasons. X is the dude's value. We don't have the highest values in the game. We have 5, 6, and 10. So we have, we have a slew of values that covers a lot of starting posse dudes and a lot of faction staples. You know what I mean? Like Lodox tends to play in 6 a lot. Outlaws and Anarchist tend to play in values 5 and lower. And so we're really only going to be seeing a lot of problems in like 4th ring outside of their starting posses because we hit all their starting posse dudes, and Eagle Wardens outside of their starting posse dudes. So we hit pretty much everybody's starting posses, but we will have some problems with certain factions that jump around in like the Jack to Queen, or Jack to King, I should say, value. And then We've Got a Beef. So We've Got a Beef is probably one of the most underrated cards in this entire game, and I think it's because it's complicated. We've Got a Beef is a 1 cost 4 of clubs. It reads react after an unbooted dude accepts a call out, but before posses are formed, swap the location of either the mark or the leader with a dude at an adjacent location controlled by the same player. The chosen dude replaces the original mark or leader in this shootout. What that basically translates to is a dude walks into town. You're in town. You call them out. They say yes because they want to fight you, right? What happens then is you play We Got a Beef, and you go, you know how you walked out with Thunder Boy and he was going to be your big shooter? Now Philip is coming in. Now Lucy is coming in. Now Olivia Jenks is coming in. And you dictate who the opponent's first student to the shootout is. So Thunder Boy, the power of this card isn't that Thunder Boy doesn't get to play. The power of this card isn't that, these other cards don't get to come in. It's that you force Irving to be in the fight. You force Jake to be in the fight. And so you can manipulate the fight a lot more powerfully, especially if you do something like We Got a Beef, this dude leaves, Jake comes in, Retribution Jake. Your move. So it's now like, oh, I have to play fair and win the shootout and not lose Jake, And so this can be a pretty powerful card. I think it's pretty underrated. I've run it in a lot of decks with a lot of success. You can use it defensively. I tend to use it not so defensively, but you can save your own guy in certain situations as well. So that's worth thinking about. In terms of the rest of our club section here, we're running basically the strong shootout action suite. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Pistol Whip for control. Pistol Whip their Willamette. Get that shit the hell out of here. get rid of Willa May. You don't want her. You don't want anything to do with her. Get rid of non-influence. Just get rid of cheap, crappy dudes. Sometimes you'll want to pistol whip their like big stud guy if they're the only stud guy, and you can get rid of people with problems. This card is really good. You just eliminate a problem. Faster on the draw, decent card. I think it's one of the cool designs. I like that it's neutral but also helps a specific faction more than others. I think that's cool. +1 bullets, -2 bullets for your opponent. It's fine. It's solid. You'll get to mess around with people who are running like legendary holster or shotgun or things like that. But all in all, it's just like solid momentum swings in your favor. Ricochet is interesting. Ricochet is one of the, I think it's the only like, no, we have Jail Ska. Ricochet is our cheating resolution. Just solid. It basically is like, I kill a guy, let's go again, because we draw, you know, or I don't take casualties, which kind of puts it over something like Coach Whip, which unfortunately doesn't swing the tempo enough in your favor, I think, to kind of warrant itself anymore. So I think Ricochet is pretty solid as our cheating, and of course unprepared. Needs no introduction, just control more of the shootout, control what your opponents can do. Because this deck actually also runs 16 dudes, which we'll talk about in a second. We're going to talk about the deeds real quick. Not a whole lot to talk about here. We've got a couple of things in here, just like standard fare, solid stuff in here. Nothing worth really talking about. This one, the branch office here, can generate control points. Don't forget it if you've got it there. More control points, more momentum in our favor. That's good stuff, right? So let's talk about deeds. Mostly, I just chose cheap deeds that you can put into play and that do something semi-useful. Let's talk about our starting posse, though. We are running an incredibly greedy and cheap starting posse. We are running three 0 influence dudes, but 2 1-cost dudes and 1 2-cost dude, or 2 2-cost dudes, I guess. We're running Benjamin Washington, Jake Smiley, the Tombstone Haint, Ziaudin Lee, Willa May, and Gabriel. So I guess 3 1-cost dudes, 2 2-cost dudes, and 4 dudes without influence. This is extremely greedy. It's a very high economy starting posse at the cost of influence. If you are concerned about influence, you can easily swap out Jake for Randall, which might be better. I like money, so Jake is fine by me unless you run into Full Moon Brotherhood or you're afraid of running into Full Moon Brotherhood, in which case just swap him out for Randall. You'll still be a 5 wealth, 2 income, which is rock solid as well, and you'll have that 4 real influence, and Randall's ability can be quite powerful as well. Going through our list, we basically have a bunch of chump blockers, or I guess casualty soak would be a more appropriate term. Box, Benjamin, and Willa May can all die before we take any sort of real casualties. Jake is influence bucket. Tombstone Hate is a stud. I like this card. I like that it can block money, which is cool. 2-cost stud is always super powerful. And then Gabriel, who is not super powerful, except for his ability is going to be kind of useful in this particular deck. He's a Blessed 0, which isn't powerful, but his Blessed skill is increased by the number of dudes at your location. Since we're going to be marching around with all of our cheap dudes and Gabriel, he'll get better Retribution pulls, so that's going to be cool for us. Overall, he's just kind of an influence stick, but he'll be a 2 stud, Blessed 1, if he gets a Sentinel, so that's also good. And the rest of our lineup is we've got a lot of studs in the deck. So we've got Shilin Pang, Mahogany Jackson, He Feng, and Master Shu as stud options for us. Got quite a few blessed dudes as well. 1, 2, 3, 4 extra blessed dudes in the deck, which isn't bad at all. We're running Ali as a backup win condition, so we've got boom, boom, Boom. We've got 6 extra cards that generate control points in addition to our 10 deeds, all of which can produce control points. Yeah, all of which produce control points. So we basically have 16 cards that swing the momentum in our favor, in addition to all the cards that we have that swing shootouts into our favor. So this is the stuff I'm talking about, where we want to make sure that we've got lots and lots of cards that dictate the momentum in our favor. We don't want to be reliant on our opponents. We want to just be able to make plays. And so that's a lot of these cards making plays, generate control points, generate control points, generate control points. And we've got some, cheeky tech. If we can find Hiram, I tried to find room for him in the starting posse, but he's just too expensive for my greed. But if you want to run Hiram in your starting posse, what he does is he makes it so that this dude is like slept on crazily. +1 influence during the upkeep phase for your dudes at adjacent locations. If you can get him into town square, it basically means everywhere your 1-cost crappy dudes can block deeds, and it's a lot easier to move non-influence dudes onto deeds and have them block money than it is to, and have them boot into town square than it is to have your influence do that. Because if your influence boots into town square to get into a fight, that influence is weak. It's booted in town square, obviously. But if this stuff boots into town square, it doesn't matter as much, because people are less likely, I should say, to willingly go into a fight with like no stakes. And that's kind of it. I mean, we've got some staples here. Virginia Ann, we don't really run any hand rank modification at all, so you can swap out somebody with Virginia Ann if you really wanted to. You could maybe like go a little bit harder. We've got so much money to play with that if you need to, you could swap the starting posse around quite a bit and still have some pretty solid options. And that's kind of it. Just put dudes into town square, start racking up control points. When your opponent gets a little nervous and comes out and fights, you just blow them away with really powerful effects. Super clean, super simple. I didn't really break down the value structure. I don't think it's particularly astounding. It is 16, 13, 11, so it's a little bit on the weaker side, but we do have a lot of stud options. We have a lot of casualty soak, and we have a lot of ways of making it so that our opponent wants to play fair. Because of how many cheating we're running, like essentially 9 cheating cards. We're running a huge amount of cards that manipulate shootouts, and so we weaken their ability to get good hands, and we also make it so that they are more likely to play legal hands, which means worse hands in most cases. And so that'll kind of boost that should make the difference between the two of us. Also, we've got Sentinel, which can turn our dudes into studs and give them more bullets, and so we're in good shape. Yeah, so if you like the deck, give us a thumbs up. If you hated the deck, give us a thumbs down. Either way, we want to hear what you think in the comment section, and have a good one. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.